Critical education is as a bridge to connecting dreams to reality. It is indeed a powerful investment. And as he spoke, my mind went to any of us having to go to the bank to get some money to make an investment in ourselves. The bank looks at the whole human sitting before that particular agent. Where you live, we need to establish that you are grounded and can be found. What is your record of earning and payment? We need to see where you're coming from to figure out where you can go. What are the full suite of resources that you will need to make good on this investment in your business? And if you need to have access to an incubator, that is done too. Our children deserve no less than a full investment in the whole life experience from infancy right up to their tertiary level education. And the People's National Party will in fact deliver. Now, as we heard that approach to scaffolding around our children, the different things that they will need to build that towering strength that of course is going to impact our economy, there is a foundation on which these things must also be built. And I have joining me for our first of three panels, two men who understand very well what it means to build and to sustain what is built based on the portfolios they manage, the enterprises that they run, the hardline negotiations they've had to do in and outside of government. And I would love to hear from each of you. First, we have Phillip Paulwell, who joins us to speak to the concept of digital access and what people will need as part of the modern infrastructure, reliable energy and affordable energy as well. And I also have joining me on this panel, Mr. Mickael Phillips, who will connect the dots for us around sustainable and secure access to transportation and road network. So for both of you, you serve in capacities and advocate around issues that form the foundation on which society arguably is built. Let's start first with your understanding of the role that you will play in the next administration.
It is quite clear. Our leader has said to us at all our shadow cabinet meetings that for Jamaica to be able to experience true happiness and development, we have to grow the economy. Our economy has been stagnant under this JLP administration. And you're not going to get true satisfaction from our people unless there is appreciable growth. And one of the main factors against growth so far is the uncompetitiveness of our economy. And what has driven that has been the high price of energy. In 2012, when we returned to office, the price of electricity was 32 cents per kilowatt hour. By the time we left office, it was 23 cents per kilowatt hour. Today, the price of electricity is above 40 US cents per kilowatt hour. And that doesn't only affect businesses, but it affects consumers because electricity goes into every aspect of goods and services that we produce. So we have a plan, and we have been dying to get into office to get this plan back on track. Yes, we are still exuberant about getting things done in Jamaica. Now, what are some of the elements of the plan? And we're going to be coming from where we left off, because nothing really has happened in the last 9 years in energy. We had transformed, diversify fuel sources. When we came into office, we were generating electricity, 92% of which was from fossil fuel. By the time we ended office, 60% of our fuel was being generated from LNG. We were close to 20%. For the first time, Jamaica was leading the Caribbean in terms of renewable energy. We established the single largest solar factory in Jamaica, 20 megawatts, and very importantly, Wigton, which was divested recently by the government, was a demonstration of how government can effectively implement a project of renewable energy, and it worked very well. So where are we now? We're going to build on the legislation that we passed in 2015 to modernize electricity. that legislation assumed that we would have been negotiating with JPSCO to end most of those provisions of the license that are not in keeping with a modern society by the year 2020. Mr. Vaz is just realizing now that the license is coming to an end in 2027. We wanted it to end in 2020, and we have precedent for that because it was our administration that ended the 50-year license of cable and wireless. And what are the elements of this new license and the new regime? First of all, we have to have more competition. And I'm a competition man on the energy side. By that we mean we have to ensure that Jamaicans will have access to that essential facility known as the grid to generate from their rooftops solar that can be sold to the grid. We have termed our plan Power for the People. Power for the People. And secondly, we also have to do a lot more in terms of large-scale solar generation. I'm a solar man because when we did that first solar project in 2014, the price of solar electricity was US 19 cents per kilowatt hour. Today, you can generate using the solar panels, the inverters, and batteries at below 10 US cents per kilowatt hour, and we don't have to pay for the sun. So we are going to be embarking on a revolution to bring the price of electricity down, focusing on solar energy. One element that we are going to tackle up front is the fact that so many of our people are so poor that unfortunately they steal electricity. And you and I pay for that, up to 20% of the bill. We believe that the government ought to take responsibility for assisting our brothers and sisters to meet that need, what has become for us now a real right to have electricity, because in this modern society you cannot. And we have done all the experiment, we have done the engineering, and we are going to be outfitting in many of our poor communities microgrids using solar again to generate electricity. And I can tell you, and Florida is going to be happy with this, the PNP government is going to be building 50,000 homes in our first term. And each one of those homes will have solar facility generating electricity free of the grid. And finally, because I could go on all night, there are some inherent, I believe, unconscionable features of our system of electricity. Firstly, I believe that consumers ought to be given more power. I find it totally unacceptable that you can have fluctuating voltage that affects a person's appliances. And then when you report that your fridge is damaged, they will tell you, but if you read the fine print of your contract, you will see that we have excluded ourselves from liability. That is going to change. We are going to make those unfair terms and contracts unenforceable. And because I want my brother to be able to say something, I will yield to my brother. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, thank you very much. Philip, it's always a pleasure to hear your passion about powering our nation. Now, before we hear from Mickael, I want to invite a member of the audience to join me on stage to pose a question to either of our two panelists. You may raise your hand and a member of the team will select who joins. While that is taking place, the hands are going up. I'll now pass the microphone, as they say, to you, Mickael. Looking at the transport sector, quite a bit has been happening, a flurry of activities, some would say, heading into the elections. But what's important is for us to understand some of the core issues that Jamaicans have, and roads stay at the top of the agenda, whether rural or urban. we're promising road, but where we getting money to fix road and build road?
Well, let me start out by saying that where public transport is concerned, we, the People's National Party, don't consider those who participate, the investors in the public transport sector, as thieves and rapists. We see them as investors in an industry that is a part of the growth of the Jamaican economy. Now, we remember that the JUTC was formed by the People's National Party in 1988. And that came at great sacrifice to not only the franchise holders, but to the taxpayers. And if we were to look at the JUTC now, to when we left government in 2016, we can see the degradation of the JUTC under this administration. So in 2016, we had 450 buses rolling out on a daily basis compared to under 300 today, even with over 200 new buses. We saw the subsidy of the government of the day in 2016 was about 4 billion. Today it is about 11 billion. The losses of the JUTC then was about $2 billion. We're looking at about 11 billion for this financial year. And when Darrell Vaz is completed with the JUTC, we should see about a $17 billion loss this financial year. So we understand transportation. And we, as an administration, look at the ride sharing also, that we believe that those who participate in the ride share industry in Jamaica, and we do welcome competition, but they have to abide by the rules and laws of the country that they're operating in. Because we can't have those who participate in the public transport sector who has to apply for a PPV license, and then those who operate on the app decide that they operate utilizing the white plates, while we have young men are being prosecuted for running robots using the same white plates. So we want equity for all in the transportation industry. We spoke about, in my own budget presentation over 4 years ago, about the rural bus system, about how it is that we're going to have a school bus system moving 20,000 students daily compared to the 4,000 that has been proposed by this administration. And I think we need to get to a point as a country that we need to want the best for our students, for our people. We have 1 million Jamaicans that are dependent on public transport. We have to find a way in moving those persons in a first-class manner, because Jamaicans do deserve the best. So when we see the minister purchasing used buses that are 10 years old, 150,000 miles on each bus, not kilometers, miles. We have started conversation with manufacturers of the buses, those that manufacture currently for the JUTC. They are willing to come and retrofit buses from 15-seaters to 20-seaters to 35-seaters with chassis that are conducive for our roadway. And there are many questions that are still remaining, because for $1.4 billion for the buses that are currently purchased, with the buses costing about $400 million, we ask, where is the other $1 billion going to? So moving forward, we have to look at the Kingston metropolitan area. We spoke about light rail from Portmore, Spanish Town coming into Kingston. We're talking about how it is that we build modern transportation center in rural Jamaica and all across the island, in our town centers, that can facilitate Jamaicans, not only the bus drivers and the taxi drivers, but also those commuters that have to take public transport. When we look at our roadways, we have to go back to a dedicated fund in financing our 27,000 kilometers of roads right across the island. We have proposed that looking at the lengthman system and also a road maintenance system, that we are going to be debushing our roadways on a quarterly basis, not once a year. That is being done now. How it is that we get grade 3 contractors and grade 2 contractors involved in a road maintenance program, that we will be maintaining those roads on a quarterly basis or half-yearly basis as the finances can afford to. But we see not only the construction of highways and the development of highways, but how it is that we rehabilitate our roadways in the interlands, in the interior of our country, where the majority of Jamaicans do reside. We see that as an important point to the development of the country, not only to agriculture, where we'll have to now partner with the Ministry of Agriculture, not only developing farm roads, but how would we develop community roads? Because not only getting it from the farm, but from the farm to market is also important. So we see road development as a major plank of the growth of the economy, but how it is that we move persons from home to work, home to school, and home to enjoyment, and for a better life for those in the interior of our country.
All right, thank you very much. We had, I think, a depth of and wealth of information coming from both of our speakers on this first panel. Hope you've been taking notes. So when the questions are asked about what plans we have for energy, what plans we have for education, for justice, for transportation and road work and maintenance, you're able to point to some of these key, critical and succinct ideas and commitments from the People's National Party. Please, a round of applause for Mickael Phillips and Phillip Paulwell. Oh, we're going to ask you to stay with us for a second while we introduce for an injection of creative energy. Ladies and gentlemen, she's no stranger to the stage, no stranger to the microphone, and having